Star Player mode allows you to play as a professional baseball player and live their life on and off the field. If you've ever played Road to the Show in MLB The Show, this is the professional baseball spirits equivalent. When you click into the mode, you have two options. At the top you have a brand new game, and underneath you can continue a game save. When you begin a brand new game, you're given three options of what type of player you want to pick from. You can either pick from a rookie, which is a player you create in this mode. There's an original player, which is a player created in either the Haku no Kiseki mode or from the Spirits mode, and then there's also the team, which is a player from any of the current teams. I'll go over the rookie in a second as it's more detailed than the other two. Choosing original allows you to pick from any players that you've previously created. If you have awakened them as well, you're also able to choose which level you'd like to set them at. From there you can pick which team you'd like to play on, but you can also choose an edit team if you choose the white button at the bottom. The last menu you'll see will be about status points, but I'll go over those in further detail in the rookie selection. If you choose to pick a team player, then it's just a case of picking whichever player you'd like from any of the available teams. Once again, you can also choose their awakening level if you've already unlocked it. Choosing to play as a rookie player grants you 4 options. Depending on which one you pick will also affect their growth levels. You can select between a high school graduate, a university graduate, someone from the workforce, or from the independent leagues. Once you've chosen, you'll then be asked which team you'd like to play for. Again, you can play for any of the 12 teams, but if you'd like to play for an edited team, you just need to hit the white button at the bottom. After choosing your team, you'll be brought to the player data screen. This screen will look familiar to anyone that's gone through either the Haku no Kiseki mode, Spirits mode, or just any of the modes where you've got to create a player. You can change your last name, first name, their nickname, the order in which your names appear, the displayed name that you'll see in menus, and also the uniform name. Once you're happy with all of that, the next thing to set is how the commentators will pronounce your player. I've gone over this in more detail in other videos such as the Spirit mode video, so if you'd like a better explanation, give that one a watch. The final menu is just for a few extra bits of data. At the top you can set your birth date. Depending on which player you choose will determine how far back you can set the birth date. You can also choose your birthplace as well if you wish to do so. Finally, the last two is choosing your dominant throwing arm and your batting side. Next, you're able to choose which position you'd like to play. You can choose from any of the positions on the field. If you'd like to be a two-way player, then you need to make sure that you choose a starting pitcher. As you play through this mode, you are able to learn other positions and are given an opportunity to change your position at the end of a season. Once you're happy with your position, you're then able to change your appearance, their equipment they use, and their batting and pitching form. Again, I've gone over this in more detail in the Spirits mode video, so give that a watch if you'd like to learn more. The next screen is for setting your appeal points. By selecting traits you wish your player to have, this will determine their starting abilities. The amount of points you can spend will be determined by the player you chose at the start. Any trait that's in red is a positive, and any trait that's in blue is a negative. Choosing a positive will use up some of your total cost, and choosing a blue will give you some back. If you do want to be a two-way player, then you have to make sure that you choose one of the two-way player traits on this screen as well. There's a lot you can choose between here to determine how your player will turn out, but rather than trying to explain every single one of them, I've made a spreadsheet containing all the data instead. You can find the link to this spreadsheet in the description below. Finally is the status screen. This is the same screen that you would find whether you choose for a rookie, original player, or a team player. There's 5 different stats which represent the humanity of your player. Depending on your actions throughout the game, your star player status will rise. And as this increases, your friendship with people will get better, and you'll also be able to take part in other events. You can choose between intelligent, initiative, talking, analytical ability, and creativity. Depending on which player you chose at the start, again will determine how many points you can put in. Once you've put your points in place, then the last screen is just a confirmation screen. Here you can go over everything to make sure you're happy with your player, but if you're not happy, you can always choose the bottom button to go back. If you're happy with everything, it's then time to confirm and then set the computer's strength and ball speeds. You're able to change both of these at any point in the game, so don't worry about picking the wrong one now. First screen is for choosing the computer difficulty. You can choose varying between the weakest and normal, varying between weak and strong, varying between strong and spirits. Then you have fixed settings, where you can fix it at the weakest, weak, normal, strong, strongest, or spirits. Next is choosing the ball speed. Here you can choose from slow, slow plus, basic, basic plus, high, high plus, and real ball speed. The last screen is to tell you about the star level. While there's no particular goal in Star Player, there is something that can be considered a goal, and that's to become a top star in the professional baseball world. As you play and compete and do different events, your star level will increase. The higher your star level, the more interactions with teammates and fans can happen, and you'll also be offered different contract and event opportunities. To be classified as a true star player, you need to reach level 50. With all that finally done, you're now able to actually get into the game. First thing that will happen is you'll be brought into the owner's office and given a starting salary. After that, you'll be introduced to Yurichiro Machida, who works in the front office, and they'll be added to your friend list. As you keep playing, more friends will be added to this friend list, which will be important later on. As it's spring training, the first thing they'll ask you to do is to set your practice menu. Here you have the ability of setting 3 areas you'd like to focus training on. You can also choose the intensity of which you train as well. Any icon in red is for pitchers and any icon in green is for fielders. So if you want to practice your fastballs, then you can always choose the fastball icon. Or if you want to increase your stamina, then you can always choose stamina. Here's a full list of all of the training that you can take part in. Some of the pitching training options, you're able to actually select which type of pitch you want to train on more. So if you've got more than one breaking ball, you can always choose between which one you'd like to train on. Depending on the intensity you choose will also determine how much experience points you'll get. The higher the training intensity though, the more the fatigue will build up. Having a higher fatigue means your player might not perform as well and can also lead to injuries. You can change this throughout the season as well on the main menu. Once you set your practice training, you'll then be brought to the main menu. There's not actually a lot you can change at this point aside from things like saving and quitting, because you need to play 3 games first. Depending on your position, the manager will give you a goal to try and beat. If you beat this goal, you'll make it into the starting team. And if you don't, you'll be playing for the second team at the start of the season. For pitchers, the goal is usually something like try not to give up X amount of runs or try and give up X amount of hits. And for fielders, it's usually something along the lines of trying to get as many hits as they state. After the last of your 3 games, the manager will let you know whether you failed or beat the goal. He'll also ask you a few extra questions. The first one will ask you whether you want to continue being a 2-way player or not if you've managed to make it into the first team. You can only be a 2-way player in the first team, so if you are in it and you get demoted, you'll be stuck being a pitcher until you make it back. After that, you'll be able to set how you want to control your player in-game. If you've played the Hakyu no Koseki mode, then these are the same options, but I'll go over them in more detail in a second. Now you'll finally be back on the main menu. From here on out, you're able to actually select the majority of the options that are available to you. The first option is for either advancing to a game or for resting. The second button is all about your private life. The majority of these options you're only able to select if it's your day off. At the top you can go out and choose any location that you've already unlocked or have a chance to find a new one. Bear in mind, if you go to a location and decide you didn't want anything, there's no way of going back. There's a lot of different choices of shops that you can go to as well as restaurants. Shops allow you to buy different items that you can use later on. The important ones to know are things like the sporting goods shop and the VP shop. The sporting goods shop allows you to buy things like bats, gloves and cleats. The VP shop allows you to use your VP to buy items such as stamina regen or even extra money. Choosing to go to a restaurant allows you to recover some fatigue and also get some of your condition back. Choosing to take a walk might seem pointless, but it does give you the opportunity of finding different shops. The next option is your friends list. Here you can see any of the people that you've made friends with along with all of your coaches. As you progress through the game, more people will be added to your friendship list. As you increase their friendship levels, you'll also be able to gain extra abilities. It might be things like increasing your opportunity for sponsorships, to increasing your chances of getting a better contract at the end of the season. Choosing the coaches will raise your trust level with them, meaning that they'll put you in the game more often. The next button is the players friendship list. Much like the previous option, here it allows you to make friends with players on your team. The amount of experience points you get will be determined by their star level and your star level. Maxing out a player's friendship level unlocks more players, but it also gives you the opportunity of learning some of their abilities. You also have the opportunity of making friends with players outside of your team as well. If you choose to spend time with a player, you can either invite them to a practice, invite them over to your house, or just do nothing with them. The last option in private life is your items. Here you can equip any items that you've previously bought and use any extra items such as stamina or money that you might need. Most equipment will have a certain amount of uses. So for example, if you've got some bats, then every time one breaks, it will tick down until you've got none left, and then it will go back to the original bat. The next selection is your training options. At the top allows you to change your practice settings. These were the same ones that you set at the very start of the game. Underneath that is your learning settings. If you've managed to max out a friendship with a player or through other events, then you'll be able to learn that ability here. You're able to learn both pitching and fielding abilities. As an example, I'm now able to learn a curveball as I maxed out a friendship level with a player. The tabs on the right hand side will give you more information, but the main ones you want to be concerned about is what you actually need to do to learn the pitch properly. So every time I use the pitch in a game, it'll give me +1, and for every time I get a strikeout, it'll give me +3. If you choose to learn a different pitch without filling the gauge up, you won't be able to use that pitch in game, but if you do max out the level, then it'll be added to your arsenal. The last button just shows you how your stats are progressing. If you're a 2-way player, you can flip between the tabs to see how your pitching and your batting's increasing. The next set of options is all information about your player. My data gives you an overview of your player. The first tab will show you things like your monthly salary, your yearly salary, your income from goods, your condition, your birth date, and your star level. The second tab will show you your status levels. The third tab will show you what hobbies you've unlocked and what level they're at. And the last tab will just show you the initial information that you made at the start of the game. Next are the star level tasks. This will show you a bunch of tasks that you can complete throughout the game, which will increase your star level. These can be things like getting a certain amount of hits to earning a certain amount of money. Much like the traits, there's too many to go over, So I've made another spreadsheet which you can find in the description which explains them all. Next is your player analysis. Here it just gives you a breakdown of your pitching and hitting metrics. The next button is for looking up missions. These can be given out by your manager and other players. You're able to see all available missions, your current mission, and any that are ended. Next is your annual history. At the top you can see your match record. Here you'll be able to see a breakdown of all of your stats per game. Again, if you're a two-way player, you can flip between your pitching and your batting. The grayed out button is your international record, but until you've competed internationally, you won't be able to select this. Finally, the last button is your competitive results by team. This gives you a simple breakdown of stats against each team. The last button is your lifetime history. At the top, you'll be able to see your lifetime record. Choosing this will allow you to see your lifetime stats, but it'll also show you any of the awards that you've managed to win. You can go left and right as well to flip between the pages to get a more detailed breakdown. The grey button again is your international record, and the last button again is your breakdown against all the teams. The next set of options is all about stats for baseball. At the top, you're able to see season records. Here you can choose between both the leagues, but you're also able to choose between your own team and others. You can see things like season records for team results, individual results, and awards and information. The next button is the all-time records. Like before, you're able to check any record for all of the teams or for just yours, but this will give you the all-time stats instead. The next button will bring up the players list. Here you can select between just general player info, pitching info, fielding info, and the international transfer list. You're able to look up all your current stats for all of your players, but you can also look at other teams as well. The grayed out button is to do with the Hall of Fame and is currently unavailable. The last button shows you player ability data. This is the same screen you see when you press triangle over a player in most of the menus. Next you have the calendar under schedule. This shows you all the upcoming games and what days you might be pitching or batting on. If you want to skip forward days, then you can always choose a date ahead in the future and it will play all the games in between. If an event happens in between the dates that you skipped, it will actually stop and allow you to take part in it. Finally, the last button is all about settings. At the very top, you're able to save the game. The game by default will auto-save, but if you do want to make your own manual save, you can do so here. The next button is for changing general settings. The top star player button allows you to change global settings for the mode. You have two options, pennant and star player. If you choose pennant, then at the top you can change the catcher lead effect. This allows you to choose how much your catcher's lead ability affects choices in games, such as pitches to throw or plays to make. Next you have the auto match pitch and bat balance. This sets the balance between pitching and batting during skip games. Level 1 will mean your player will bat more and pitch less, and level 5 means your player will pitch more and bat less. Level 3 will be a balance between the two. Next you can choose whether world star players like Ohtani can be reincarnated into original players. You can set it for all players, only pitchers, only fielders, or no one whatsoever. The same goes for the reincarnated pro players. These will be players that might have retired at the end of the season. Next you can choose whether you'd like designated hitters in the Central and Pacific Interleague games. And finally is for setting designated hitters during the Japan series. You can choose for designated hitters to only happen during Central League games, or you can have it for both. Under the star player options, at the top you can choose whether you'd like the autosave to be on or off. The next option is for setting the star level change events. You can either have it as on, only when you change your star level, or have them off completely. Next is for choosing a designated hitter for the second army. You can choose whether you'd like designated hitters to be used in the second team. And the last option is for choosing how many extra innings you'd like to play in the second team as well. The next option is the user settings. I've gone over these in other videos such as the hitting tutorial. You can change things like the ball speed, your batting assist, and your pitching levels. Next is the field play settings. Here's where you can set how you'd actually like to play the game, and these were the options you were given by the manager previously at the end of the 3 exhibition games. I've gone over all of these before in the Hakyu no Kiseki mode, so I'll leave a timestamp below in the description. The next button is the match play settings. Like the user settings, I've gone over these before in videos such as the hitting guide. You can change things like the amount of extra innings to also changing what type of ball you use in game. The next button is your player data settings. If you've ever gone to edit a team, then this menu will look familiar to you. You're able to change things like the players' names, their appearance, their equipment they use, but you're only able to do the majority of these for your own created player. For a bigger breakdown of all of these, then you can watch my edit team video. The next button is for changing the computer strength. If you've played a few games and you weren't happy with the level you set at the start, you can always change it here. Next you can change the background music if you wish to do so. The last button is for evaluation settings. You're able to tweak different parts of the game here. So for example, choosing the annual salary evaluation, changing any of the settings here will determine what type of salary you will get at the end of the season. You're also able to tweak how awards can be determined. The second to last button is the help option, which is all in Japanese. And the last button is for quitting the game. So from here you determine how your player will act in playing games. The 25th of every month is when you get your salary. Doing well in games and increasing your star level will also give you other opportunities such as sponsorship deals. As you play and progress, your stats will increase as well, but again, you can always change everything if you want to. Regardless of how your season's gone, at the end you'll be brought back into the owner's office. You'll be given the option of whether you'd like to continue or to retire. If you wish to continue, you'll also be presented a new contract. Here you can accept the contract offer, but you can also negotiate for a better deal if you wish to do so. You can choose the amount of years and the amount of salary you'd like. It's not always guaranteed that whatever offer you put in, the team will accept it, so it's quite a good idea to make a safety safe beforehand. If you've done well, you're also able to change your uniform number. Finally, you'll be given a goal for next year, but you can also set some of your own. There's no negative impact if you do fail them, but it will boost your contract opportunities if you manage to pass them. As you play through multiple seasons, your player will get older and your abilities will start decreasing. You won't lose any special abilities, but your regular stats will slowly go down. You can purchase a jet bath or an oxygen capsule from the item shop, which will help reduce the impact of these. During the off-season, some other events will happen as well. In November, the draft will happen and you'll also be able to see all the free agency signings. Once it rolls around to February, you'll be back to spring training. This time though, you can learn a few new things. For example, if you'd like to learn a new position, you can do so. But if you've also decided that you don't want to play a certain position, you can change that as well. You're also able to improve your fatigue recovery. Finally, you're able to set your practice training again. The practice period during this time is far more intense, so it's a great opportunity to boost some of the areas that you want to improve on quickly. The good thing is it doesn't matter what intensity you choose. You might find as you play through the game that you're not able to do certain things, and that might be because of your star level. There might be other reasons as well. For example, if you try going out on a date, then most of the times they won't go out with you unless you have a car. So it's really important that you increase your star level and earn more money to be able to buy all the things you need. But that's just a basic overview of Star Player mode. Personally, I've had a lot of fun making a character in Spirits mode and bringing them into this. It's also quite challenging to increase your star level. Getting some early levels isn't too bad, but trying to reach 50 does take a long time. There's also a lot to see and buy in this mode, so it will keep you going for quite some time. But if you've got any further questions, just drop a comment below and I'll try my best to help where I can. As I said before, I'll leave a link to the 2 spreadsheets I made in the description below. There's also a spreadsheet made by Poppo about all the items that you can buy in the shops, which is super handy as well. These spreadsheets, along with making this video, takes a large amount of my free time. So if you have found this guide's been helpful and you'd like to support me, then you can always leave a tip on Ko-fi. But that's it, I hope you're able to enjoy this mode. Again, if you've got any questions, just leave a comment below. Hope you enjoy the game, and I'll see you on the next one.